How does it feel to be forgotten? I'm a middle child, so I think I'm very used to the feeling of not like being forgotten necessarily, but like I'm used to the feeling of being overlooked. Not intentionally, I don't think. Like, it's like in a funny way, like, oh, Alex has been forgotten in the car again. Oh, let's lock the doors so that she can't get into the house. Haha. Before I started doing a lot of hobbies, maybe when I was like 11, 10 years old, I would be home alone a lot because my siblings would do a lot of other hobbies and I didn't, because I was lazy. But to be fair, I think that that's quite a common thing if you have a lot of siblings, and it makes sense because as a parent you have to manage your attention, especially with so many kids. I can understand that this isn't, a unique experience. I'm sure that there are moments in my siblings' lives where they have felt they've been overlooked because my parents' attentions are on me, especially when I was very sick. Was I very sick? I was sick as a child. I was a sickly child. I am still a sickly child. So, a lot of my childhood, maybe when I was like 6 or 7, I'm sorry, but a lot of my childhood I was, pampered in a sense because I was sick. So I can understand that my siblings have probably had the same experience as me where they felt overlooked or forgotten. This is a sad revelation that I had when I was maybe around 12, 13 years old. I think I'm kind of used to the feeling of being a background character. I realized like at a very young age that I wasn't part of like the popular crowd. They were friends with me when I was younger. Like, they were nice to me, we would interact, it would be fine, but there was just something that I didn't have, and that's probably because I'm not really good with social situations, and I've done a lot of observing of them in order to understand social situations. But yeah, I just realized that to them I was more of like a supporting cast member to their stories, and fair enough. I feel like that's everybody is everyone's side character, everybody is playing a role in everybody else's lives. But I felt like, to me, like, even in just teachers in school, like, even to them, I wasn't what their focus was on. They would have students that they would be focused on, that they would know by name, or, I would get mixed up for girls a lot. If, as a brown girl and you get mixed up for other brown girls, that would happen a lot. Maybe that's just a racism thing. But it's like I didn't matter. And it's not that it necessarily didn't matter. It just felt like it didn't matter. But, looking back now, it was probably a good thing that I was not really the main focus of the teachers, because that probably meant, like, I was just a good student who just went about their day. And it's not like I didn't do a lot of stuff. I did a lot of clubs. I did a lot of instruments. I did musical theater and stuff. I felt like my talents were overlooked a lot. I think I'm a good singer. I think I'm smart. Maybe just average smart. I think I'm good at stuff. But I would be overlooked by my teachers for people who they deemed like better than me, which is fine, fair enough. If you're a better singer, that's fine. Like, it's fine. I guess it's safe to say that I'm very experienced in being overlooked as a person. I'm very used to being the background character. But how has this translated into my adulthood, though? For one, I find it very uncomfortable when the spotlight is on me. I don't like being observed. I don't like having the attention on me, which is a weird dichotomy because I want to be noticed, but I don't like it when I am noticed. Like, it's easy if it's online because it's easy to ignore people online. Just turn my phone off, turn my iPad off. I would never turn my iPad off. I love my iPad. But like, if it's in person though, like, if everybody's eyes are on you, if the topic is on you, like, all the attention is on you in that social situation, bro, I'm freaking out. I can't deal with it. I don't like being observed. I don't like being perceived. But I want to be perceived, though. I want to be noticed for who I am. But I think that the way people perceive me isn't the same way that I want to be perceived necessarily. If I have my talents noticed by others, or when I do receive that attention, like, I feel such an immense amount of guilt. But why do I feel that guilt, bro? Is it because as a child I would not get that same amount of attention? But I would get noticed for my talents. I would, like, my parents were very proud of me if I did get like that kind of stuff. Circling back to what I said, I feel like the way that I am noticed by people isn't the same way that I want to be noticed by people. This is probably unintentional, but sometimes I feel like I'm forgotten in social situations a lot of the time. No fault to anybody else. I don't really go out that much. Like, I want to. Sometimes it's a bit hard though, because I know I'm a liability in terms of like getting overstimulated, and I don't want to be that person who's ruining everybody else's fun. So if I feel like I can't go out because of that, even if I want to be out and I was planning on going out, yeah, if I feel like I'm being a liability, I don't want to go out. Yeah, I don't feel like I'm necessarily forgotten by my friends, especially like my close friends. Sometimes I feel like I'm closer to people than they are to me, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like they're my closest friends, but I'm not theirs. Does that make sense? But if like people just don't tell me something, or if they withheld information from me on purpose, and I don't think people do that, but sometimes it feels like that. Like, sometimes I have that social anxiety that people are doing that, even if they're probably not. But I'm not entitled to any of those. I'm not entitled to any of those things. But sometimes I feel like I'm kept at arm's length, if that makes sense. I mean, I do keep people at arm's length. I find it very difficult to disclose information about myself to other people. But a lot of the time, the way that some people treat me, not just necessarily like my friends or anything, like, sometimes I think that people don't think that I think. Again, circling back to the fact that I don't think people perceive me the way that I want to be perceived. I don't think that they think that I can like fully get things. I don't think people think I fully get things. It feels like people think I'm so brain rotted that I can never truly think about things deeply. Like, do people think I'm just like silly and goofy all the time? I'm really not. Especially like if I'm in my bed sometimes and I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And I get a bit existential. But I don't think people perceive me as somebody who can think deeply about these things. And maybe that's because of the tism. Maybe. I don't know. What I wrote here was, I think people think I can never truly think about things so deeply, so therefore I shouldn't be added to the conversation. Do people think that I live in a bubble, therefore there's no need to include me? Do they think I'm an airhead who just wouldn't care? I get this impression that I'm just their background character, and maybe that's all I'll ever be. Maybe it's been my whole life. Because sometimes I feel like I'm only here to serve everybody else. I don't really talk about myself that much. I don't think I have interesting lore that anybody would actually care about or want to know about. We'll get there. We'll get to that. But the thing is, I do feel things deeply. I do care about spending time with people. I do care about what others are thinking and feeling. And I care to know people at a deeper level. But I don't know if people see me as a person that can understand things at a deeper level. And maybe it takes me a while. Do they think that there's nothing to see about me than just the surface level? Do they think I'm just silly and goofy all the time? Maybe I do. Maybe it's because I act silly and goofy all the time. But I'm not silly and goofy all the time, I swear. I think a lot. Maybe too much. To be fair to them though, like, just people in general who perceive me, like, I always tell people that I'm a boring person. Maybe I am a boring person. I don't do much because I've told people so much that I'm a boring person, because I believe that I'm a background character in everybody else's lives, that I've internalized that feeling. Therefore, I do think I'm boring AF. Even though maybe I'm not. Because if I look at myself from an outside perspective, I do think I'm an interesting person. I have a lot of hobbies. I play a lot of instruments. I can sing. I write. I do art. I paint. I draw. I sculpt. I like fashion and I like music so much, and I read and I do all these things. I like going on hikes. I like running. I like doing stuff, but does it make me boring or does it make me stable? And I think I'm a cool person. I think I'm smart and funny, but I don't feel like that because I've internalized that feeling of being boring. I wrote, maybe I'm mixing up stability for boring. But the thing is, nobody's life is stable. Everyone's gonna have ups and downs. I've had very unstable moments in my life, especially when I was a teenager, a young adult, when I was in high school. Coming back to the lore thing, a few months ago, a friend of mine asked me if I had any lore. As usual, I responded that I don't have lore because I'm boring. I said I'm a boring person and there's nothing going on in my life, which is true. But then she specified, oh, it's like, what about your love life? Even there, there's nothing going on there. That's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other topic. Me being very avoidant, me possibly not even being able to feel romantic feelings at all. That's a whole other conversation. It got me thinking about like the quote unquote interesting lore about my life. But the lore that has happened to me, it's not something that I'm gonna go tell somebody in the middle of a shopping center. Like I'm not gonna trauma dump essentially on my friend. I would say I've had quite traumatic moments in my life, which is a whole other conversation that I probably don't even want to speak about here. But yeah, since growing up from then and having stability and routine in my life that has gone beyond what I've had in the past, especially since turning 20 years old, I think that I've grown a lot as a person and realized a lot of the things that went wrong, which ended up resulting in those traumatic things happening, even as like recent as last year. But since finding stability and finding a routine, I guess my life is boring. I guess I'm just like someone who's easy to forget because I don't have much lore besides trauma. That being said, I don't really know how I feel about being forgotten. And I don't want this to sound like a pity party, y'all. I'm okay with being people's background characters because they're probably my background characters. Like I said in the beginning, everybody is everybody else's background characters in their life. I know my family, my best friends, I know they'll never forget me because they're an important part of my life and I'm an important part of their lives. I want people to see me as deeply as I see them. And I don't know if people see me like that. But maybe that's just because of the way I present myself. Maybe they already do see me like that and I just don't notice because I can't pick up on those things sometimes. I think it's because I hide a lot of my life, which probably comes from my avoidant tendencies. I'm still trying to work on that, okay? That's one of my New Year's resolutions is to be less avoidant. So I'm working on that. That being said, like, I don't want to leave this world without leaving a mark. You know, I want to be remembered. And I think the most important part about being remembered is nurturing the relationships you have around you. Maybe when I was younger, I wasn't very good at that. I wasn't very good at talking about my feelings, even now, which is why I'm doing this instead of talking to my friends. So that's what I want to work on. And I don't want to be forgotten. It is a sad feeling thinking that you've been forgotten when it was probably unintentional anyway. And, you know, sometimes maybe I'll forget somebody and they'll forget me. But I don't think that anyone can ever truly be forgotten. Not as long as you put yourself out there and appreciate the people and friendships that you have around you and appreciate yourself, actually. Because a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about is very internalized within me. A lot of it is the way that I feel about myself, and I don't think I would be forgotten necessarily if I just look inwardly and think, damn, I actually am a cool person who probably is remembered by a lot of people. I just want to be understood. I just want to be seen. And I feel like everybody feels like that. Get out there, divas. Okay, I think that's the end of that. I've been speaking for like 25 minutes now. Ooh, yapper alert. Okay, bye.